Hello, everybody. It's Bill, it's that college football guy, here with another video. Oh, I stirred up a little bit of a hornet's nest yesterday with that little video about Fresno State not signing the document and ours signing the document. So I'm going to do a little clarification on that to start at the top of this. Yeah, the president of Fresno State did sign the document. However, I have a few people that I do know one thing. They're going to have to resubmit that signature. Because there are certain places where a signature that light will not be legally accepted and could be challenged. It's valid, yes. Could it possibly be challenged? No. You want to make it ironclad? Darken it. Resubmit it. It's over. That simple. Somebody just, I guess, didn't transfer it correctly because that you had to fit a magnifying glass to find the damn thing because everybody else's signature was bright. Maybe not do that next time. So the Pac-12 appears to be intact for now, but $40 million to leave your conference? That's another story for another day. Now we're talking about here is about what I told about yesterday, which was about the Super League proposals, this House settlement. Which one of these is actually got realistically chance of it happening? Well, we have College Sports Tomorrow's proposal. That was done about October 1st. And then we had the one that was not too long ago involving Smash Capital and 4 former Disney executives, nicknamed Project Rudy. And then, of course, we have, and of course, the thing is the linchpin to drive all of this is the House settlement itself, which has received preliminary approval. It's not finalized, which finalized means, okay, we're finally getting on the damn road to get this done. But we're not there yet. So, which one of these has a chance to happening? Okay. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with these as they were submitted. Could a revision of these go through? Possibly. But as submitted. Which one is the least likeliest to happen? Project Rudy. Project Rudy is the one's least likely. Number one, it's the top 70 schools. You completely eliminate FBS, other FBS schools. No games against FBS or FCS. Not going to happen. Sorry. They said, well, top 70. Really? Is the NCAA deciding this? Is maintenance deciding this? Maintenance deciding this? No, it's an arbitrary by some median people. Hello, lawsuit. Into the billions and trillions of dollars for somebody else's arbitrary decision. Not going to happen. Oh, they'll just leave the NCAA. Oh. The Big Ten and the SEC told you this during their meetings. The NCAA is going to be restructured, but it's not going away. And if you leave the NCAA, you're an absolute, complete moron. And I'm going to get into that. Actually, you know what? Let's get into that now. Why would anybody want to leave the NCAA? One word. One word answer. Congress. They have been trying. This is the latest proposal to do it for NCAA to get an antitrust exemption. This has been tried off and on for the last 30 years, perhaps even more than that. 30 is what I remember. I remember them trying to do this in 94. So that's 30 years ago. So it probably has happened before then. But 30 years from my memory. So we're talking a long damn time they've been trying this. And they've been hemming them and hawing and on his knees. I'm not doing this. We're not doing that. And all of a sudden it got a little bit of traction because of the House settlement. And the NCAA was doing hearings, which is a step in the right direction. Way the NCAA, Congress was doing here, excuse me. The NCAA was saying, look, Congress saying the NCAA, the way you're doing things is not right. It needs to be changed. It needs to be restructured. They want to make athletes employees. And I'm saying this for the record. That is the dumbest thing you can do because it becomes a for-profit business, which means Title IX dies. Now, if they become independent contractors, you can do a workaround and still keep Title IX. They're responsible for paying their own taxes and their own stuff and being an adult and doing those things, but they wouldn't be employees. That can keep Title IX intact, because that's the big sticking point. Title IX staying intact. Congress wants to eliminate Title IX. They're not going to do that. The backlash on that would destroy people. Now, we had movement on the lawsuit, didn't we? On the Congress giving an antitrust exemption. Then all of a sudden it just died. Well, they're not interested anymore. No, it's an election year. You honestly think they're going to do something with the election around the corner? Hell no. They're not doing none of that. They're going to wait. What's it going to be? Well, I'm willing to bet that Congress goes back in session, is it February? I'm willing to bet right around the start of the NCAA tournament, they're going to be reopening inquiries about it, probably do it a little bit in the background during the NCAA tournament. Full hearings probably in late April, early May. And it may be by the start of the next fiscal year or sometime in August or September this year, possibly next year, but I think this year's a strong shot with the NCAA submitting all proposals, because this thing is this here. In order for all of this to work, the NCAA has got to have their house in order. Now, I believe Congress is going to grant the NCAA an antitrust exemption. Why? What's the reason? The money and this, they finally caved in? No. There are a lot of powerful people who are alumni of a lot of universities. Harvard School of Business, Yale, MIT, who are and other universities who never participated in NIL. They're going to have to pay on this lawsuit and have to keep paying on this lawsuit for stuff they never do. And that's unfair to them. And they've been screaming about this. And they are either members of Congress, alumni or members of Congress, or they're very large donors to political campaigns who can make sure who they bought, allegedly, who they paid large donations to, will do what they ask. We don't know the truth, but I'm going to say that. They paid large donations, okay? That was saying bought. No. Nobody's bought in politics. No. But anyway, so after Hyman and Hahn and Wine and everything else, they're going to do all this. Now, you want to have a group leave the NCAA with all of the crying and whining that Congress has done. Do you honestly think they're going to do this twice? Hell no. They're going to do this once to protect the NCAA, and anybody else they can care if you burn up and die. They can give a damn what happens to you. The NCAA will be kept intact, the smaller universities will be protected, and that'll be the end of this. If you want to leave, that's on you. The Big Ten and the SEC know that. Everybody else apparently has forgotten. The NCAA will be restructured, and it'll be restructured from the ground up based upon what Congress demands. Well, we're not going to reduct the NCAA. They have no choice. They're going to have to. The NCAA is going to have to be completely restructured. It's going to go along with the demands of Congress, so that way you guarantee you get the antitrust exemption. Because you don't want to rearrange your organization and it costs you $1 trillion over the next 25 years. How stupid was it not to do this? You're going to reorganize the NCAA. They're going to get the antitrust exemption. You'll be protected from lawsuits. So you're not leaving the NCAA. So what the hell will the Super League be? What I've been saying for a long time, what NCAA President Charlie Baker said, perhaps there are some members of our membership who believe the fact that things aren't exactly right. Maybe we need to form a new subdivision to allow them to address their interests or whatever, something along those lines. And I've said this before. This is where it's going to be, a new subdivision. They want to call it a Super League. It's a new subdivision. It'd be a subdivision where the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be at the forefront. They can dictate the rules, dictate the policies to this, whatever it's going to be. Not fully dictate. I'll get into that. Dictate the policies. They will be having that, all those ends in there. They'll be still part of Division I, which means they can participate in the ends of the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments, and they'll have the antitrust exemption. It checks all the boxes. Now, Project Rudy wants to eliminate the top 70 schools, put up to a new subdivision, but you don't play anybody else. Not happening. Lawsuits galore. Not happening. The NCAA will not allow that. Because you mean you're blocking yourselves off. You'd have to leave the NCAA. Never going to happen. Because they wouldn't be able, because the Smash Capital would have to cover all the lawsuits. And they're not doing that. So this proposal, as it stands, I'm calling it dead. College sport tomorrow, the top 72 schools, everybody in FBS involved, promotion and relegation, creating the CSFL, the College Student Football League. As that stands, that's also dead. Could this be reworked? Both of them can be reworked. But as it stands, I don't see this happening. Because again, top 72. What's your criteria for the top 72? That's not happening. Now, Big Ten and the SEC just had yesterday, this is Friday, just had their meetings yesterday in Nashville about we're going to have premier matchups and everything else, and football and basketball. Now, they said, oh, they're going to do 70 teams. They've said flat out, 70 is too many. They don't want to do that many. I've been saying 48 to 54. Now, the fact is, oh, they're going to pick and choose and they're going to leave the NCAA. I just told you, they're not leaving the NCAA. Furthermore, Alabama and Vandy, they called the premier matchup. You don't like that idea. Alabama and Vandy is a premier matchup because it's within the SEC. Ohio State and Northwestern be a preeminent matchup. Why? Because it's within the Big Ten. So the 48 to 54 spots, I've told you this and I've said this before, the top 35 spots are already locked. That's the 18 members of the Big Ten, the 16 members of the SEC, and Notre Dame. You don't like it, I hate to break it to you, too bad. That's what it's going to be. They're going to protect their membership. So those spots are done. Crying and whining about it's not going to change it. So let go of that stupidity. That means 13 to 19 spots open. They're talking about football and basketball. Now, how the hell will they determine who's going to be in this? The House settlement, I think, is going to be the linchpin for this. If you're talking about 22% of athletic revenue profit, a cap of $20 million a year, which improving over it, as this, as I said, is a preliminary approval, not finalized. But the $20 million cap increasing every year. You can opt in to revenue sharing, or you can opt out. I think that's how they're going to do the Super League, the new subdivision. Everybody, and the thing is, the Big Ten and the SEC know the fact they're not going to be able to pick and choose who they want. They know they can't, because the lawsuits would kill them, and they know that. How do you get around it? Everybody who can afford to do revenue sharing, everybody who opts in will go to the new subdivision. Everybody who opts out doesn't. So that means now with some of the schools they wouldn't want to be in there are going to be in there, yeah, but hopefully with money, with time, they can build themselves up. But that means the Big Ten and the SEC are going to have their pre-matchups. And the fact is, you're going to get some schools in there that are not great in football, but they're going to be good in basketball. That brings me to Gonzaga, whatever the hell they want to call themselves, Gonzaga and UConn. Would both of them get a shot up? Would they be willing to pay the money? That's it. Will you opt in? If you're opting in, you got in. UConn, opting in. Will they make UConn football stand by? I don't think UConn could afford it. I don't know if Gonzaga could afford it. Because you're talking, and the thing is about this is they're saying it's a $20 million cap, but the SEC and the Big Ten, I was hearing the rumbling, if this actually happened, they're talking about a floor. A minimum you have to spend every year, and it could be $10 million. You have to spend $10 million every year. You don't have to spend the cap, but you have to spend a minimum every single year. That way nobody bargain basements. No, the old straw hat Padres from '94. You know, where they would have said they call it the straw hat Padres because they traded off everybody. If they could have played in straw hats, they would have done it. Anything to cut costs and make as much money as possible. And for the betterment of Major League Baseball, their ownership was forced to sell the team, thankfully. So they're going to be putting in a floor. This is what I've been hearing, is the fact that the blueprint of the House settlement is what the Big Ten and the SEC want. Now, it doesn't give them everything they want. But everybody who opts in is the ones who can afford to go. They're the ones who are going to be the more premier brands. They'll be the ones who can afford to pay for this. So in a way, there may be 2 or 3 or 4 stragglers who they may not want, but for the most part, the premier brands have the money, and they're going to be going. So the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be going. Notre Dame's going to be going. UConn and Gonzaga, we don't know if they're going to be able to, will they opt in? That'll be to tell this. I fully believe that how they're going to do the subdivision is going to be who opts in and who doesn't. And they're going to do the fact like, well, this isn't fair. We have unfair advantages and they're going to do this letting everybody who opts in stay in the system they are in now. And it's going to create an unfair advantage for those universities where the point it's not going to be fair to everybody else. We can't do this. We can't do this. This is nothing here. It doesn't happen on there. We can't figure this out. Well, what if we do a new subdivision with all the revenue sharing schools in that? That way, that's a level playing field, and FBS is a level playing field. This is a plan. They're going to have unfair revenue sharing schools will have unfair advantages over the ones that don't, and they're going to dominate. And they're going to other schools say this isn't fair. Well, the only way we can make it balanced is they're going to have to go to their own subdivision, and everybody who doesn't stays. Now, I think they're going to do that on there. Now, could there be a G5, G6 school that can make it up in there who's going to pay the money? Yeah, because the fact, like I said, we don't know what the finalization of this is going to be, and that's going to be the big key to this. Like the judge did a preliminary approval, but that doesn't mean it's finalized. That's what we need. If it's finalized, that changes everything. But I fully believe that the College Sports Tomorrow proposal, Project Rudy, are both pie in the sky. They're ideas. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to be, for this new subdivision, it's going to be the revenue sharing opt-in and opt-out. Because the fact is, we're suing. No, why? The revenue sharing schools are going to the subdivision. You had the chance. You had the chance to opt in to do this. You said no. You chose not to do this. Therefore, you can't argue about going there because you had the option to do it and you turned it down. That's going to be for every school in FBS and FCS. Everybody to opt in or opt out. That's going to allow the schools to make the move. That allows the fact that you can't get a lawsuit because you were given the option to do this and you turned it down. You had the choice. You turned it down. Can't sue because you had the option. You were given a choice. You turned it down. That's on you. Can't sue over it now. Now, the way they can get around this, they say, well, wait a minute, they just did this now, but they didn't tell they were doing a subdivision later. They're going to have to say that. Eventually, when the contract comes up, the revenue sharing schools will have to be in a new subdivision to create an even playing field for future members. But until the contract happens, unless everybody votes to tear it up, which is a possibility, I have no idea how realistic that's going to be, but it's a possibility. If you have to give the option, says, hey, we're going to eventually put these schools because they're going to have an unfair advantage over all of you. They're going to be able to pay their athletes more, They're going to be an unfair advantage. So we're thinking they need to go to a new subdivision. They may decide to institute the new subdivision now because of a lawsuit. And they'll have to possibly do buyouts of the college football playoff contract, which I don't think will be that big of a deal. And then you restart everything. And then these revenue sharing schools go on their own subdivision, on there, and you'll have, I said, FAS, maybe FRS, the football revenue sharing subdivision or something. The FRSS, the football revenue football revenue subdivision, instead of FAS and FBS, be FRS. Whatever the name of it ends up being, I think that's what we're going here, and that would, I think, is probably what's going to be, because it doesn't pick and choose. Each university has the option to do it. You can go, but you got to pay for it. You can't, you're not going. You choose. You decide. Can't be sued because the fact you turned down a decision. It's unfair. Well, this is what it's going to be. Could they possibly sue later on? Yeah. But the problem is that you had the option to do something and you chose not to do it. It doesn't look good in court. So, what do I think is most likely? I think if the House settlement, if it's finalized, I think they're going to do the opt-in and the opt-out as how they create the new subdivision. Those who opt in are going. Those who opt out are staying where they're at. I think that's how they're going to do this. Is it going to make the Big Ten and the SEC absolutely happy? No, it's not. But it's the only way they can do what they want to do and not get nailed in lawsuits as much. I think that's where it's going to be. Because you're giving every university the chance to choose. They may not want to do 70 schools, but if 68 opt in, they're going to take 68. Now, elephant in the room, Big 12 ACC. Can everybody in the Big 12 and the ACC afford to do this? Now, is there a G6 school that can make it? I threw out possibly Liberty because they have a hell of a endowment. Could they pay for it? Could Stanford and Cal pay for it? Want to go? Is it that important to them? Like I said, I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be completely happy with this. But all things considered, this is going to give them the chance, because the fact is they say, well, private equity can level things out. They're not going to do private equity. I don't think they're going to do private equity right now. I think the plan's going to be is this. They're going to form the new subdivision. They're going to do all this, and everything's going to get finalized and everything out, the revenue sharing schools out, and they're going to do all of that. That's going to be done. Then the schools in the new subdivision are going to do private equity after they've been picked, after that's been chosen. So that way you don't have the fighting in between. We're going to go as a group and get private equity. I think it'll be happening after they do the subdivision, not before. Now, there's a possibility I've thought of, could the Big Ten and the ACC, might be the Big Ten and the ACC, the Big 12 and the ACC be doing a split merger? Like one conference the schools go up and have their conference up in the new subdivision. The other ones, which is all the ones who can afford to go, and all the ones who can't afford to go, stay down in FBS and pretty much be the alpha dog of that subdivision. Because of doing this, would this completely kill off the autonomous schools at the FBS level, because all of them will pretty much be at the other level? Nobody will have an advantage. There'll be no P anything in FBS anymore. No autonomous anymore, because all the autonomy is dead. It will die because the conferences will go away. Like the Pac-12's lost its autonomous status. If the Big 12 and the SEC lose enough schools, they lose theirs unless the conference moves up or whatever. And I said the conference doesn't have to move up, they're just going to pick schools. No, the conferences can move up. United Athletic Conference, the proposed merger between the Atlantic Sun and the WAC that fell through because of money, got preliminary approval from the NCAA for the entire conference to move up as a whole from FCS to FBS, provided the conference and all universities paid all appropriate fees. Money is what stopped it. It can be done. They had approval, which means the Big Ten as a whole can move up from one subdivision to the other. The SEC as a whole can move up from one subdivision to the other. The Big 12 as a whole, if everybody can do it, and so on and so on and so on. So, but you have to have everybody who's going to do it. Project Rudy completely blocking off FBS and FCS, I see it as dead in the water, because I just see so many lawsuits. It's ridiculous how many lawsuits this is going to have. College sports tomorrow, the College Student Football League, it's cute, it's nice, it's not happening either. Because all of this is dependent upon, both these depending upon, and Project Rudy is even more ridiculous. Just the fact is we're talking about a $9 billion deal here. And Disney former Disney executives talking to Disney to putting $2 to $3 billion up front. No, if they do the new subdivision, nobody puts any money up front because it's not a super league. It's a new subdivision within the NCAA. Nobody puts up anything, no money, which for Disney is music to their ears. They don't have to spend any money. Now, they can increase television contracts, but they don't have to do other things to elevate somebody else who doesn't deserve to be there, in their eyes. Doing this, it's not going to be ideal for everybody. But it gives everybody the option to do it. And I think that's probably what's going to be the deciding factor in this. I think they'll do is they're going to put the revenue sharing schools in a new subdivision, and everybody who's not revenue sharing will be in FBS. Or FCS, and FCS in Division 2 can consolidate, or Division 3, or however this works out with the money-wise. That's going to shake out, and that's a whole different discussion of how that's going to be. But we're not going to find out that until after the House settlement gets done, probably for a year or two until this shakes out, because based upon if you can opt out of revenue sharing, Division 2 stays intact. But all the revenue sharing schools are going to have to go to the new subdivision to separate. I think that would pervade, because otherwise they'd have an unfair advantage. But I've done enough talking. Okay, why don't you tell me what you think about all this down in the comments. So thanks everybody for watching. I know I'm rambling along here, but not looking forward to go back out in the yard doing more yard work. But that honey-do list, don't wait for no money. Staycation got canceled, so hey, vacation got canceled, staycation now, and get some yard work done. Get some other things done. Ugh, I got some work to do back there in the back. But tell me what you think about this down in the comments. So do me a favor, smash the like button, hit the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. As the video be seen by more people. Comment, tell me what you think. Share the video if you want to. And if you haven't done it already, check out some of the other videos I've done. And if you like them, hey, subscribe to the channel. You know, I'm working my way up to 1K. Help me get this thing doing some better things. So thanks everybody for watching. If you want to follow me on Twitter, on X, the link will be in the description. So thanks everybody. Please be safe and please be good to each other.